Hi, this is the video for Daf Nun Gimmel of Masechet Ketubot. I want to go over here a machloket, a dispute on the reading of the Mishnah that's found in the second part of the page between Rav and Levi. And I'm going to talk a little bit about the simple reading of Rav and Levi, the original probably meaning of what the two of them were saying. And then I will talk a little bit about the average age of marriage during the Talmudic period in Babylonia and in Eretz Yisrael, in the land of Israel. So the Mishnah that we have says, as the reading of the Mishnah that we're familiar with, says in this Ketubah clause, Banan nukvan diyahavin lichi minai, right? Girls that you have with me, the husband writes this in the clause, Yahavyan yatvan beveti, will sit in my house and be fed and provided for from my property, ad tilachun leguvrin, until they are taken in marriage, meaning the father guarantees that he will provide for his daughters through this wife until they are married. But we read in the different girsa in the Mishnah, different reading of the Mishnah in the Gemara. Rav tane ad tilachun leguvrin. Rav has the reading like we do until they're married. Levi tane ad bagran, but Levi holds until they reach majority age, which means basically a little bit after puberty. So really, later on in this sugya, we hear a braita where Levi says something almost the same. V'chein tani Levi b'matzniti. Levi taught in a braita ad bagran ve'yimte zamnehun de'insavan, until they hit bagrut, meaning a mature majority age, puberty, according to the rabbinic understanding of it, and their time to get married comes. Now, the simple reading of that, not the way the Talmud reads it, but the simple, probably original reading that many scholars have shown, is that to Levi, the time in which a girl gets married, or should get married, is about the time when she reaches puberty, meaning, let's say 12 and a half, 13, somewhere around that age. Whereas to Rav in the Mishnah, it may be much later, I don't know about much later, but later, whenever she gets married. This reflects what probably is a difference in practice between Babylonia and the land of Israel. The Gemara, remember, the Gemara is not a record of what age people got married. The Gemara is often a record of what age rabbis wanted people, especially women, to get married. And we do seem to see rabbis urging people to get married at an earlier age. However, we know from other evidence, and even from evidence in the Talmud itself, that probably a lot of scholars have assumed, have posited recently, that the average marriage age in Eretz Yisrael, in the land of Israel, for girls was somewhere around 18 to 20. Right? Not 12 or 13 as the Gemara sometimes makes us think, but 18 to 20, and sometimes even older than that was not abnormal for a girl to get married until 25. Now, while that is still younger than the average in many of our sections of society today, it is, it's not that young. Remember, people didn't have a long childhood where they went to college and spent a long time living in their parents' homes. People, for the most part, were expected to join the workforce sometime when they were young, maybe around the time they reached puberty. We don't know of advanced schools for normal people beyond young ages. So to get married at 18 to 20 probably was a little bit later than we would have thought. And the advantage of that system is clearly to prevent a woman from having too many children. It was, in a sense, a form of of birth control. In Babylonia, we know that the ages were younger. Girls probably start, at least they were pushing girls to get married 12, 13, and far younger than 18. By the way, the boys in Eretz Yisrael, some scholars have said men in Eretz Yisrael didn't get married till 30. Whereas in Babylonia, the average male age was 20, and the girls were, let's say, around 12, 13 years old. At least the ideology we get behind that, at least in the Gemara, is that if you don't want teenagers to have sex when they're not married, you better let them get married. In other words, they're going to do what they're going to do, and if you don't want men and women engaging in sexual practices outside of the bonds of marriage, you better let them get married very early, because otherwise they're going to do, again, what teenagers want to do. So there is a difference between Babylonia and Eretz Yisrael. In Babylonia, marriages got earlier, and in Eretz Yisrael, they were much later. Again, I would urge a word of caution in not judging people's maturity level, or their thoughts on children and sex. I'm not talking about young prepubescent children. I'm talking about teenagers. Using our lens, but to realize that life and maturity and the concepts of childhood and adulthood were probably very different in the pre-modern period.